This training has been assigned to you because you were identified by your department as a possible cash handler. You will be required to complete this training and successfully pass the assessment to perform job duties that are related to cash handling. An annual refresher training thereafter will be required as long as you are handling cash or cash equivalents at CSUSB. Our goal in this training is to increase every cash handler's knowledge and understanding of the associated risks and controls, so that each of you, the cash handlers, are protected and kept above suspicion. We hope that this training will provide an understanding of the CSUSB cash handling procedures and an understanding of the key controls in the CSUSB cash handling process. We will cover the various forms of cash payments, a review of the 3 types of cash handlers, principles of good cash handling, and their application in daily cashiering activities. A listing of CSUSB resources are available to assist you in the review and evaluation of risks in cash handling activities. Money makes the world go round. If instruction, research, and public service are the engine that make CSUSB go, cash is the fuel that makes the engine run. Each year, cash handlers at CSUSB collect and process over $200 million. All of this cash is used to help the campus fulfill its teaching, research, and public service mission. Because of this, it is critical that cash be handled, secured, and processed properly at all times. As has been demonstrated repeatedly over the years, any instance of mishandling cash can be very damaging to the reputation and credibility of a university. This cash handling training is intended to provide you with the information you need to know to properly handle, secure, and process university cash receipts. As our campus continues to grow, there will most likely be an increasing level of cash sharing activities, resulting in a corresponding increase in the likelihood of an associated risk occurring. All departments, including campus auxiliaries and other entities, collecting payments for goods or services, must be delegated authority to do so by the Director of Accounting prior to collecting payments. To request authorization to collect payments, please complete a request to establish, maintain a cash sharing collection point. Student Financial Services has taken a proactive role by providing education and this online training to all cashiers and cash handlers to strengthen controls and reduce the risks involved with handling cash and cash equivalents. Fiduciary responsibility. The university placed a special trust in you when it delegated to you the task of handling university cash and cash equivalents. You now have what is called a fiduciary responsibility. This term means that you are now acting on the university's behalf and must do so in a responsible way. This means using good cash handling practices to account for and deposit in a timely way all cash, checks, and credit debit payments received. Protect university cash, checks, and credit debit recordings from loss or theft, and make sure that monies received are used for intended university purposes. Good cash handling and control practices are the subject of this course. The main point is that as an approved cash handler, you must start implementing cash control practices the moment you receive cash until it is accounted for with proper documentation and later deposited appropriately and to the correct account. What is considered cash? When most of us think of cash, we tend to think of paper money and coins. And in most cases, that is the reference intended. But the CSUSB Cash Handling Procedures document, when it refers to cash, it's really talking about a much broader spectrum of financial items. The goal of this page is to clarify the various forms of payment and other items that are included in the university's definition of cash. Cash, as defined in the CSUSB Cash Handling Procedures, includes all of the following: cash and equivalents, currency, checks, money orders, banknotes, traveler's checks, cashier's checks, credit debit card recordings. Securities are items that are easily transferable or converted into currency. Stamps, tokens, parking permits, tickets, for example, for entertainment, meals. E-commerce, debit and credit, ACH transactions, other forms of electronic fund transfers, EFTs. All of the above items are treated the same and will be referred to as cash. When you are asked how much money does your unit receive or handle, please include all of the items that are listed on this slide. Defining cash handlers. Main cashier, a person who works in a main cashiering station. The primary function of this individual is cash handling, payment processing, and preparing deposits that go directly to the bank. These are the four main cashiering stations at CSUSB. The Campus Cashier's Office, also known as Student Financial Services, and SFS. College of Extended Learning, CEL. Palm Desert Campus Bursar, PDC. University Enterprises Corporation, UEC. Department Satellite Cash Handler, a person who frequently handles cash, processes payments, and prepares deposit to a main cashiering station. A few examples of units at CSUSB with this level of cash handling include athletics, ASI, the theater box office, recreational sports, parking services. In the CSUSB cash handling procedures, a unit with this level of activity is called a department satellite cashier. There are approximately 60 department satellite cashiering units at CSUSB. In general, this type of unit routinely collects payments and deposits to a main cashiering station or a department satellite cashiering station. Occasional cash handler, a person or campus unit who infrequently handles cash. An example of an occasional cash handler is someone who inadvertently receives a check in the mail and takes it to a main cashiering station for deposit. Here is a visual representation of how cash flows from cash handling units and department satellite cashiering stations to the bank. Accountability requires the person to have the authority to carry out the task. An employee receives a delegation of authority to handle cash through his or her job description that includes cash handling responsibilities. Any person who has delegated a task to someone remains accountable for ensuring the task is properly performed. Tasks can be delegated to someone only if that individual possesses the appropriate knowledge and technical skill and is actively involved in the task being performed. Have you ever seen a sign next to a cash register that states, "If you don't get a receipt, your purchase is free"? Ensuring accountability is the main reason why a business posts this type of sign. Providing a pre-numbered receipt to each customer means that every sale has been recorded. As part of the recording process in issuing the receipt, the individual cashier has been identified, along with the form of payment, cash, check, etc. Accountability is present when funds remain secure, transfers are documented, passwords are not shared, keys are secured, all transactions identified to a specific cash handler, a receipt is given to each customer, a cash drawer for each cashier, safe combinations not shared, background checks are performed. Individual accountability for cash is to be maintained throughout all cash handling operations. This applies to all transfers of cash. The documentation involved in a transfer must also document the type of cash, currency, checks, and other forms of payment. The two signatures on the departmental cash transmittal form indicate that each person has counted and totaled the amounts of each type of cash being transferred, and both parties agree that the amounts listed on the forms is or are the amounts actually transferred. Cash and cash equivalents must be locked in a secure receptacle or safe at all times except when signed out by a cashier for working cash. Whenever a handler of cash leaves the work area, however briefly, he or she is responsible for ensuring that the cash is secured by locking it in a drawer, a desk, a file cabinet, etc. There are several processes involved with cash handling. Below is a brief description of each of the cash handling roles. As you review this list, think of how you would design a process in your unit that recognizes the importance of each function in controlling the risks involved in cash handling. You will find two charts on the next slide showing appropriate separation of duties in a 2-person and a 3-person office. Handling cash. Individuals who accepts cash payments, endorses checks, and issues a pre-numbered receipt. This individual has access to cash. Preparing deposits. Individual counting cash and preparing the departmental cash transmittal form or the bank deposit form. This individual has access to cash. Verifying deposits. Individual verifying the departmental cash transmittal form or the bank deposit form. This individual has access to cash. Making cash deposits. Individual making cash deposit to a main cashiering station. This person has access to cash. Reconciling receipts to deposits. Individual comparing amount of cash collected based upon cash register tape totals or manual receipt book totals to cash deposit amount. Recording deposit to general ledger. Individual approving the departmental cash transmittal form to ensure the individual preparing a deposit is different than the individual handling cash. This individual may not handle or have access to cash. Comparing deposits to general ledger entries. Individual comparing the amounts of daily cash deposits appearing in the monthly general ledger with the amounts recorded on the miscellaneous cash receipt report. This person may not handle or have access to cash. In order to comply with the CSUSB cash handling procedures, there should be a system of checks and balances in which different individuals perform tasks for adequate control. Cash item handling, record keeping, and reconciliation will be assigned to different people, even for agencies with automated accounting processes. A second person will verify reconciliation and deposit of cash items. If you need assistance establishing proper separation of duties for your campus operation, please contact the Student Financial Services Lead or Manager. The matrices below show appropriate separation of duties for cash handling roles for 3 persons and 2-person operations. Separation of duties protect you, the employee, from allegations of wrongdoing. Separation of incompatible duties and/or responsibilities provides assurance that one person is not able to conceal errors and/or irregularities when conducting their normal, everyday duties. Functions that need to be separated are separated when a different employee performs each of these 4 major functions. Often these duties are performed by different levels of personnel: record keeping, authorization, asset custody, reconciliation. The duties and/or responsibilities of staff within a campus unit should be reviewed whenever processes are revised or functions are reassigned due to staff vacancies or departmental restructuring. If management has inadequate staff to properly separate all duties, additional procedures can be designed in the system to help reduce the risk associated with inadequate separation of incompatible functions. This is what is known as mitigating controls. Cash handling includes 5 steps. Step 1. Accept cash and endorse checks. Document cash and checks properly. Thousands of dollars exchange hands daily on campus, usually in the form of cash, checks, and credit cards. Cash transactions are not things, but they are events that begin and end. Unless they're documented, there's no way to track the movement of money. This has big consequences. Every time you receive cash, you must engage in 3 controlled tasks. Accept the payment. If payment is by check, ensure the check is payable to either CSUSB or California State University San Bernardino. Record the transaction with the receipt to the customer. When not in use, place all cash in a designated secure location. Special situations, like mailed payments. A few campus units receive a large volume of payments by mail rather than in person. Processing remittances presents special risk, since the payer is not standing in front of you waiting for his or her receipt. Separation of duties requires that at least 3 employees be involved in the processing of remittances. One person opens the mail, endorses and logs the check, including payment amount. Another person processes the check, records the payment. The third person verifies that all checks received are deposited and account coded correctly. In this situation, when a receipt is not mailed to the payer, the payment is recorded to the appropriate account. At the end of the day, the logged remittance amount must balance with the amount processed into either a cash register and/or an accounts receivable system. In a campus, unit, or department that only occasionally receives a remittance, the individual check is recorded directly onto the departmental cash transmittal form. An unidentified check. Sometimes a unit or a department receives a check and it is not immediately clear why the check has been sent. In this situation, the unit should do the following. The main cashier endorse deposit and research. The department satellite cash handler endorse submit to main cashier. The occasional cash handler submit to main cashier. Endorsing checks. Whenever you receive a check, you must endorse it on the back to prevent it from being negotiated inappropriately before depositing it with the main cashier's office or the bank. Applying the principle of individual accountability, either the stamp needs to identify the individual cash handler with a unique number or letter, or the cash handler can initial next to the endorsement. Since all monies become the responsibility of the university, you must stamp endorse all checks payable to California State University San Bernardino or to CSUSB. Cash handling step 2. Prepare deposit. So far you have endorsed the check or checks, given a receipt to the customer, and kept your cash in a locked and secure location. The next step is to complete the proper deposit slip. Staff working in a main cashiering unit will complete the bank's deposit slip for Wells Fargo. Staff working in all other campus units will complete a departmental cash transmittal form available in Student Financial Services. Control task. Use the correct deposit form or slip and document accurately. Campus units run adding machine tapes of all checks received and a separate tape for all credit card sales. Attach the tapes to the corresponding checks and/or credit card receipts. Accurately provide all appropriate information on the form. To provide individual accountability, the preparer and the reviewer sign or initial the deposit form. Include other supporting documentation, for example, cash registers tape, copies of handwritten receipts, beginning and ending ticket numbers, etc. When completing deposit slips, include adding machine tapes of the checks and credit card receipts. You want to include this with your deposit to the cashier's office. Ensure dual custody by completing the departmental cash transmittal form with another person. Make sure you balance cash receipts to your deposit. Report any losses, including over or short amounts. Keep a copy for your records. Cash handling step 3. Deposit cash. Control task. Control amount of cash on hand. What would you do if someone walked in and said, "Stick 'em up. Give me all of your money"? It's hard to hand over money with your hands still in the air, but the robber won't quibble with you. He or she will want the cash. The wise thing, of course, is for you to hand it over. Please refer to the next section, Robbery Prevention and Safety section, for other procedures to follow in the event of a robbery. But why give more than you have to give? Keep just the minimum amount of cash at your station by making regular cash deposits to a main or satellite cashiering station. If using a cash register, remove extra accumulated cash and store it in a secure location until the deposit can be processed. Minimize the risk. Count cash in a location where no one outside of the office or the unit can see you doing it. If others don't know that you have cash, especially a lot of cash, they are less likely to be barging in and demanding the money. At the end of the workday, secure all funds and leave the register's cash drawer open so that it's obvious that the register contains no cash. When to deposit cash, checks, and credit card receipts? To prevent too much cash from accumulating at your intake point, the university specifies when you are to deposit excess cash at the main cashier's office located in the lower level in University Hall. Satellite departmental cashiers and cash handlers, unit personnel, must deposit at least weekly or sooner if your collections meet or exceed $500. For your security, ensure dual custody, taking your deposits to the main cashiers. When deposits exceed $2,500, employees shall be escorted by campus police. When necessary, armored car service or police escort shall be used. Cash handling, step 4. Reconcile deposits. Control task. Ensure cash and receipts balance. With each deposit, cash equals deposit equals credit to bank account. Whenever money changes hands or accounts, make sure you record the exact amount. Then, balance accounts daily and monthly to ensure that cash received equals cash recorded equals cash deposited. The accounting office ensures that the above also equal amount credited to our bank account. On a routine basis, regularly compare the amounts reported on deposit slips to the amount recorded in the general ledger. All cash amounts recorded on receipts and deposit slips must equal each other. Therefore, if $10 was received, the receipt must record $10. The deposit form must show $10, and our bank records and the GL report must show that we received credit for $10. Monthly balance accounts as follows. Balance to general ledger at month's end. Report any discrepancies to general accounting. Control task. Investigate all cash differences. There will be times when your cash and receipt amounts will be different and won't balance the first time. This is very common and most often due to clerical errors. As a cash handler, you must investigate the differences to determine its source. You must account even for small cash differences, because over time they add up to large losses for the university. Find the source of cash differences. To investigate cash differences, consider the following possible causes. Was the cash in the till counted incorrectly? Recount your cash, preferably in a dual custody. Was your arithmetic or keying incorrect? Run a second tape to double-check the accuracy of your first tape. Running 2 balance tapes daily is a good habit to get into. Was change counted incorrectly back to a customer? This is a loss, and the reason needs to be documented and reported to your department supervisor. Were numbers transposed on your receipt, deposit slip? If so, double-check your figures and slow down next time. Is cash missing? If so, this is a loss and must be reported to your department supervisor. Cash handling step 5. Report losses. Though most cash differences can be traced to clerical errors, be especially alert to mysterious losses or patterns of loss. You must report any losses to your supervisor. If you feel uncomfortable reporting a suspicious loss to your supervisor, report it directly to the manager of Student Financial Services. Please note that shortages in excess of $100 must be reported to the Student Financial Services lead immediately. Also, per CSU Executive Order 813, incidents of actual or suspected fraud involving state and/or non-state funds amounting to $1,000 or more will be reported to the Vice President for Administration and Finance no later than the first day following discovery of the irregularity. Robbery procedures. Be aware of your surroundings. Alert employees may make a robber nervous and think twice about the robbery. Keep visible cash low. Keep bait money in a strategic place so it can be included if you are robbed without arousing suspicion. If applicable, know where the silent alarms are and how to use them. Try to remain calm and not overreact. Comply with demands. Never take action that could endanger lives. Do nothing to alarm the robber. If applicable, keep the robbery note, if possible, but do not handle it. Try to avoid rubbing out fingerprints. Discreetly observe the robber and try to remember basic characteristics such as sex, race, hair color, eye color, height, weight, unusual scars, tattoos, clothing, etc. Include bait with any money given to the robber if it is safe to do so. If applicable, do not jeopardize yourself or others by trying to activate the silent alarm prematurely. Press the alarm when it is safe. Once the robbery is over, notify proper authorities. If possible, take note of the direction of the robber's escape. Do not chase the robber. Protect evidence. Do not touch anything the robber may have touched. Write down details of the robber and the robbery. Do not discuss them with other witnesses before discussing with law enforcement officials. Identify customers and staff who witnessed the robbery and might be able to give additional details to law enforcement officials. Audits of cash handling processes and controls may periodically be performed by either Chancellor's Office Internal Audit or internally utilizing staff from the Accounting or Student Financial Services Office. The physical setup of all cashiering stations must be reviewed by the Student Financial Services Office in concert with internal audit personnel to ensure the safety of funds and personnel. Such reviews shall be in writing and retained per campus fiscal records retention policy. Cash handling locations must keep deposit slips on file for 4 years from the end of the fiscal year of the transaction. This slide provides some of our campus resources and contacts that we mentioned previously. Please take note of them now. You have completed CSUSB's Basic Cash Handling Training. Please proceed with completing the assessment. You must pass your assessment with a score of 80% or higher to satisfy the cash handling training requirement. Thank you. If you have any questions regarding the training, please contact ITS Training Services at extension 77425.